Hello, welcome to Rolling Home. Our goal is to share stories of life here at the Boston Home in Dorchester, Massachusetts. We are a 96-bed skilled nursing facility for people with advanced neurological diseases. Most residents have multiple sclerosis, but other medical conditions are represented here as well. Every resident uses a wheelchair, some manual, others power chairs. Hearing this, you may assume that our lives are quiet and sad. Well, that is a misconception that we aim to correct. You will hear about residents doing wonderful things. You'll hear about unique programs happening within our walls. You'll hear about advances in disease treatment, wheelchair use, and accessibility. You'll hear stories of people who pursue interests outside of the Boston home, knowing that they can do so while getting the assistance and care needed here. You will hear about the value of friendship and community. So stay tuned. We have much to say and are excited to share with you.
You're listening to Rolling Home, a podcast produced by the residents of the Boston Home in Dorchester, Massachusetts.
My name is Annie. I moved into the Boston home in August 2022. Let me briefly share my health story. In my first year of life, I was diagnosed with cerebral palsy. Cerebral palsy is caused by an injury to the brain, usually during your own birth. By all standards, mine was a mild case. The only outwardly visible symptom was a limp. Of course, there is much more to it, but looking at me, that would be your only indication that something was wrong. I lived a reasonably normal life, working and raising my 3 sons. At age 49, all those years of walking with a limp took a toll on my hip. It soon became clear that I needed a hip replacement. That was done, and I quickly returned to my so-called normal life with a brand new titanium hip. Within a few months, I began experiencing numbness, severe spasticity, and frequent falls. Ironically, those symptoms were present in the right leg, not the left one that had just undergone surgery. After more than a year of doctors, tests, and illness, I received my diagnosis of multiple sclerosis. There is so much more to my story, but that's for another time. So, now I consider myself a twofer. 2 disabilities for the price of 1. But here's a fun aside. Multiple Sclerosis Awareness Month is March. Its signature color is orange. Cerebral Palsy Awareness Month is also March. Its signature color is Kelly green. If I put both colors on a white flag, it resembles the Irish flag. If you were to see me in person, my reddish hair and freckles might clue you in to my very Irish heritage. So I am happy to represent my disabilities and my ancestry all in one. And my partner is
Scott, and I've been here for 2 years. And I'm very excited to be here, and I think that as you continue tuning into this podcast, you'll find out that the residents here at the Boston home are quite unusual. We are all victims of MS, which is a neurological disease, but at the same time, we are very active and alive. We all are very positive, have very positive outlooks on life, and happen to be in the Boston home, which is a unique facility, as you'll find out.
So our goal is to share our stories of the remarkable facility in which we reside. As Scott mentioned, we are a home for people living with advanced neurological diseases. Um,
I suffer from multiple sclerosis, which I have had since 1978. So that's 47 years. The technology, the capabilities to combat this disease have shifted dramatically over time. And that's something that we can detail as we go further into this podcast.
we're hoping to share stories of this home, the amazing resources available to us here. We hope to share stories of struggles with disease, overcoming and adapting to our diseases, and finding a quality of life that, even despite its challenges, we are thriving and finding ways to overcome our disabilities.
And one of those attributes, the Boston home, is the fact that almost all of us, the 96 of us that are fortunate enough to be here, we are actually in motorized chairs, which is something that has increased our mobility and impacted on all of our lives in different ways. Before we were able to be residents here at the Boston home, many of us were in situations where perhaps we were confined to a home or we were confined to a nursing home, and we're basically just lying in bed, not ambulatory. But once we got these chairs, we found that it increased our ability to be experiencing not just mobility, but freedom, and suddenly becoming social creatures again, which is something that you lose the capability of being when you have MS and you're trapped in a bed. The fact that the Boston home is able to provide us with this mode of transportation has also increased our ability to socialize, which has completely changed our lives.
And for purposes of safety, wheelchair use is an admission standard. It would not be safe for a person in a walker or a cane with 96 wheelchairs in a hallway. So that it is a condition of admission is that you are currently a wheelchair user.
They go very fast.
Yes.
Yes, you actually have to pass a driving test to be able to manipulate one of these vehicles, and it's very extensive. The testing that you have to undergo here as a recipient of being in one of these chairs to prove that you're capable of navigating and not endangering yourself or endangering other people before you can actually be set loose, for lack of a better way of putting it. But it is something that has completely changed the lives of anyone that is in them, as they will all attest, in varying ways. And it has been an exhilarating experience to be able to come here. There are a million people in the United States that suffer from MS, and that's just one of the diseases that the Boston home deals with. But there are a million people, and there are only 96 of us here. So that in of itself is tremendous advantage that we have been fortunate enough to be here. I consider myself very, very lucky, as I'm sure do most people who were here.
Yeah. And as we go forward, we'll be talking more with members of our wheelchair enhancement, and they will describe the resources available to them that improve our chairs, which in turn improves our quality of life. And that's a very unique feature of this home, is to have them on site. It's a real gift to us as wheelchair users.
I think it's called the Wheelchair Enhancement Center, I believe.
Yes.
And they're constantly learning as they deal with these chairs. They're all unique. Uh, so each person's chair is a work of art in that sense, tailored to that person's particular needs and capabilities.
So, Scott,
Yes.
can you tell me about your life where you lived prior to coming to the Boston?
Sure. I'm kind of a nomad. I was born in Brooklyn, then moved to Manhattan as a child, lived there pretty much most of my life, all the way up to the point where I went to college. I've had multiple careers. I guess the first one of note is being hired as a producer working for the Newport Jazz Festival, producing live music, which ended up being all over the world, Tokyo, South America, France, all over the United States to the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival. But then I segued out of that into the field of advertising. I became an executive producer in advertising, specifically in Manhattan. Then I also had a stint for about 8 years as a special effects cameraman, shooting special effects for movies. But my point is just that I had a very full life before and during finding out that I suffered from MS. It basically started as a blind spot in my left eye and didn't affect anything else, didn't impact on me in any other way until after about 20 years. And then slowly but surely, I noticed that my hands were beginning to tingle. One thing led to another, going to an ophthalmologist, which led to going to a neurologist, which led to finally discovering I was suffering from something called MS. And it developed over a long, long period of time. As I said, I held down 3 different types of professions, all sort of centering around communication in one form or another, until it finally got to the point where the MS took over and I was no longer able to work anymore. And one thing or another led to finally ending up, luckily, at the Boston home.
I see. Uh, My story is vastly different. I was raised right down the Mass Pike in the town of Natick, and in 1994, with a young family, we moved to a very small town called Hopedale. It's near the Rhode Island border, and that is where I raised my family. So, small town girl, all of a sudden living in a big city, I found very exciting. And I have been fortunate enough to explore the city and all it has to offer. And for me, that is very exciting. And Scott, I want to briefly pass this on to resident Nan, whose story is different from both yours and mine.
Wonderful.
There you go. Thank you, Annie. My name is Nan, and I've been a resident here at the Boston home for just about 2 years. I was diagnosed with MS in 2000, so you could do the math about how how long I've had it, even though I haven't been a resident here. My background is working in community media. I worked in, I guess, what people would be familiar with as public broadcasting, with community groups all around the United States and also internationally. I've lived in a lot of different places, including Washington, D.C., Ohio, Colorado, and New York City. And I retired in New Mexico because my MS was getting bad enough that I couldn't manage on the subway anymore in New York, and I knew I needed to go someplace that didn't have any ice and snow. Fortunately, I was able to make a plan with my brother and sister-in-law who lived in Milwaukee, They couldn't deal with the ice and snow either, and we all moved to Las Cruces, New Mexico together. And I lived there for 10 years before coming here to the Boston home. I had heard about the Boston home 5 years before I moved here because my niece, who is a speech therapist, knew about the facilities and the program here at the Boston home. And she works here in Boston, and she really recommended that I come. I was able to visit the Boston home 5 years ago, and we took a tour of the facility. I spoke with a number of the residents and got to really see the place. But at the time, I was not really ready to move in. And I said that. I said, I can't see myself living here. Meanwhile, everybody's zipping around the hallways, which was a little scary. Even though I had a motorized chair, I still wasn't sure I could manage like that. But it was 5 years later when I really felt I needed the kind of help and support that I could get here at the Boston home. And I recontacted the place and said, do you remember me? I was there for a tour 5 years ago, and they said, yeah, you came with your whole posse. I had my sister, my niece, my aide, myself, and we were watching everything that was going on. So they said they definitely remembered me and invited me to go ahead and fill out an application. And I was very fortunate that after I had applied, it was only a few months before I was able to move in. And I have never regretted the decision for a single moment. This place has made a huge difference for my own feeling of independence and worth and being a member of the community who can still participate in many, many things. And in some ways, I'm not as mobile as Scott or Annie because I don't have uses of my arms and hands. Both of them have use of at least one hand or two hands or more hands, however many hands they have. I don't have any hands left. But because of the advancements in the technology, I've been able to get my chair adapted so that I can actually drive it with my head. If you ever see me, I look like a space person with headphones, and I don't have a helmet, but I could. And I'm able to use my head instead of the joystick that most of the chairs have. Um, and even that is remarkable and has given me a feeling of accomplishment that has really meant a lot. And it means that I can zip around, I can go outside, I could participate in things out in the community, I could go to the theater, I could go to a restaurant, I can do all of those things. And the Boston home really makes it possible for me. So I'm glad to be participating in the podcast, and I'll probably be chiming in on occasion about the issues as we introduce you. It's not going to be just talking about us. It's going to be introducing you to what it's like, life in the chair, what it's like for us, also the facilities here at the Boston home, and all of the things that we're all engaged in the greater community in Dorchester, which is a neighborhood of Boston. So we know we're in a place that has lots and lots of politics, culture, social life, all of that stuff. And we don't want to miss a single moment. So this is life at the Boston home where we're rolling home.
Very
And
good.
may I chime in one last thing? One of the things that you will find is that because MS strikes us all in different ways, but at the same time, we're all similar. There is absolutely no differentiation between anyone regardless of race, sex. It doesn't make any difference whatsoever. We are all brothers and sisters, and this is an amazing family of 96 people who all look at each other as family now. And that is something that was really unexpected to discover, that 96 people could become so close to each other and care about each other and look after each other as best we can.
I've got to put a plug in here also because the staff is absolutely fabulous. Every single person on the staff here, a friend of ours, is a family member of ours, sometimes literally, but usually figuratively, and treats us with respect and caring, and also lends all their talents to help the Boston Home and help us. So it's it's not an alienating place in terms of the people who look after us. Everyone who looks after us is someone that really cares about us, and we really care about them.
Hear, hear.
I thought I would take just a moment to elaborate a little bit about some of the activities we have here. We do have a full schedule of activities every day, morning, noon, and night, including things that happen in the evening as well as in the daytime. We have 2 writing groups. One is a writing group that meets once a month, and the other is a writing group that meets once a week. And I'll just speak to that for a moment because I didn't even think about participating in any creative writing. I've done tons of technical writing, grant writing, legal writing, but I never thought about doing any creative writing. And I was urged to join one of the writing groups, and I've been writing up a storm since then. But the writing group has a remarkable amount of talent. We also have several watercolor classes where people who have not painted are creating beautiful landscapes, still lifes, all kinds of things. We have an annual art show, which is sort of a community open house. If you happen to be near the Boston Home when the art show is happening, please come by. We have a jazz trio out in the garden. We have hors d'oeuvres and wine, and we have a beautiful display of art. And all the artists are here. You can meet every one of them. And also with the writing group, we have an annual showcase of things that we've written. And we have a terrific audience of friends and family members who come, and really good pastries also. So please come and enjoy our food and enjoy our art and poetry from the writing group. And if you're here, stop by and see us. We'd love to show you around. What you're going to hear now is a piece that was written by one of the members of the writing group, the weekly writing group. Her name is Lori. She has a following on TikTok, which is fabulous, but we also really enjoy her writing, and it's very special.
Good day, my name is Laurie. I communicate with my eyes using the 2-bit Dynavox IKE's iPad. I wrote this for our wonderful CEO, Christine. Happy summer, much love. Laurie.
Our Garden by Lori. We are off to the garden. The doors slide open and we smell the fresh, newly cut grass, flowers, and the big linden tree. Sometimes the big pink tree is in bloom. This is our secret garden in the middle of the city of Boston, full of peace and tranquility, a place to relax and forget our troubles. Come, check out our beautiful hideaway in the middle of the city. Visitors always welcome.
Thanks for listening to Rolling Home, produced at the Boston Home by its residents. You can find us on the Boston Home socials on Facebook, Instagram, and thebostonhome.org.